Okay, hello guys, welcome to the Mokey channel. Yeah, let's start with another deck profile. So this deck profile is from the year 2002, it's from the Yugi Kaiba format, and yeah, I've basically built a Yugi deck, let's say Yugi deck. It is a Summon Skull deck, and it is not completely traditional Summon Skull, but it has a little twist on it. So let's start into it. Summon Skull, the best card probably in this deck. It's one tribute, it has 2,500 attack points. Yeah, so there's no comparability to it. Dark Magician just can't keep up. The only monster that is more easy to summon maybe is Blue Eyes with Lord of D and Dragon Flute, but yeah, he's pretty consistent. And probably the best monster card of this format is La Jin. Everybody plays La Jin 3 times. He's 1800. He's pretty strong. And yeah, this is like the best card of this format. And normally you would follow up with Battle Ox or maybe Neo. But this deck will not play Neo, and this deck will not play Battle Ox. This deck plays instead Ryokishin. Ryokishin is dark, and that is pretty important. Ryokishin has only 1600, but 1600 is efficient enough for what the deck is trying to achieve. We play one Wicked Worm Beast because Wicked Worm Beast is actually pretty good. It is kind of like the first spirit monster in a sense, because in the end it bounces back to your hand, and this is actually pretty important because it dodges like this Dark Hole and Raigeki, which are usable in this format, and you don't want to overcommit sometimes in 2 boards. And by this you can build up pressure, but it still can come back to your hand, and it can be an efficient card. Then we go on and we start with our effect monsters. Our effect monsters are basically flip monsters. The most important one. This is Trap Master. Trap Master basically is a flip effect that targets one face down card. If it's a trap card, it destroys it. Most of the time they are traps face down, but sometimes people even set spell cards, because card destruction is a thing in this format. It is not limited. Then the notorious Man-Eater Bug. Man-Eater Bug is a monster that has a flip effect that targets one monster on the field and it destroys it. This is pretty good in this format, alright? This is why you play 3 of them. He can basically clear every monster in this format. It's so amazing. There's also another card you could play in this format, which is Hein. Hein can also clear a lot of stuff. Hein has a flip effect that targets one monster and bounces it back to the hand. You can also start combos by bouncing back the Man-Eater Bug or Trap Master to set it again. But yeah, I didn't play one. And then I have 2 Wall of Illusions. Wall of Illusion has a 1850 defense, which is pretty amazing. 1850 means La Jin cannot beat over it. So your opponent takes damage, but also a card that attacks a Wall of Illusions gets bounced back to the hand. This is why Wall of Illusion is basically the best wall in this kind of format. There's also some cards that has even more defense, as you will see, but Wall of Illusions with its bouncing effect is pretty important. Then I play one Mystical Elf. She is with 2000 defense even more beefier. What is actually important about her? Why would I not play a 3rd Wall of Illusions? Because a Magical Elf can slip under Trap Hole, and people sometimes forget this, but Trap Hole is actually the best trap in this format, and this is why playing one of her is actually sometimes really useful. And now let's go to our spell cards. We play 1 Pot of Greed, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Raigeki, 1 Change of Heart, and 1 Monster Reborn. As you can see, these are really powerful spells. These are really strong. game-changing cards, and they are all allowed in this format. They are limited though, and yeah, these cards make this card actually pretty in-depth, even though there are not that many effect monsters. And then I play one card destruction. One card destruction is, I think, at least needed. I play double Swords of Revealing Light. You cannot play 3. If you think why I'm not playing 3, you can only play 2. And then the most useful removal card besides Darkhold Rageki is Fissure. Fissure is pretty amazing in this format, and there's no doubt that actually 2 to 3 is pretty much the stable. And now the reason why we play Ryokushin and no Badlocks or no Neo, because we play Sword of Dark Destruction, which is an equipped spell card in this format, which boosts a dark monster by 400 points. There was also the option to play the 1600 zombie and the Yugi deck, but I've decided for Ryokushin because he has not 0 defense points. But in terms of, let's say, nostalgia, I may drop 1 in, because I would usually not play him in defense, but yeah. He's pretty good. This card is actually really useful because your Lajins will get stronger, your Ryokushins will be stronger than even Yami boosted Lajins. Because people sometimes play Yami in this format, not a lot of times, and not a lot of times this card is played, but they do, and this is why this card is relevant for this deck. This is why I like to play this card. And then we play 2 D-Spell, and people may ask, why D-Spell? D-Spell seems to be like a really awkward card, a really bad card, but in terms of removal from spellcasts, this is your only option. So if you really need to get rid of this Yami, or you really need to get rid of this Sword of Dark Destruction, or you really need to get rid of these Sword of Revealing Lights, you need this card. And also, you don't need to forget that you can look under a face down card with this card. So sometimes people also set spell cards because we cannot play Heavy Storm or something like this in this format. So people set spell cards because they're afraid of card destruction. These spell can open a lot of in-depth analysis plays, because you can pretty much look into your head, in the head of your opponent, and get some spicy plays in if you predict correctly what he is thinking and doing. And then the last spell in this deck is Stop Defense. Stop Defense is basically pretty good for dodging flip effect monsters like Man-Eater Bug. Sword of Revealing Lights can do that too, in a sense, but in both ways, you should not have a monster on your field when you do this. If you see a Wall of Illusions coming, this can become even more in handy, because if you do this, your Wall of Illusions from your opponent will be switched to attack position. There's no flip effect involved. And if you have something like Wicked Worm Beast, they can attack easily into it, because their own effect would even bounce it back. So you wouldn't even be angry that your own monster will get bounced back. So this is why also Worm Beast is a pretty good card, because it can run into Wall of Illusions without having any regard of being like, oh, I get bounced back to the hand. And this card even is more useful with Wicked Worm Beast than without, but also without Worm Beast it would be a pretty amazing card in this format. I play 1 Waboku. People like to play 2 or even 3 sometimes. I don't like it this way, because I beat over a lot of things. I don't have these situations a lot of time where I have Badlocks against Badlocks and Neo against Neo, because if people max out on Neo and max out on Badlocks, it makes sense to play more Wabokus, because they will have a lot more situations where where the cards have the same attack and defense points. But as I said, my Ryokushin is most likely backed up by Sword of Dark Destruction, or by another trap card which I play 3 of, which is Reinforcements. I don't play 1, I don't play 2, I play 3 of them. I'll max it out because I really want to hit into stuff. So I can get my monsters pretty strong, and this is pretty useful, beating over stuff. And then the most useful trap, of course, in this format is this trap. Yeah, you can basically not play it, because a normal summon with over 1000 is a lot of times in this format. The only thing it cannot get rid of, this trapple, is a set monster like Man-Eater Bug or something. But this will protect you from so many things, and this is why you need to keep it. You have to play 3 of them. And then I have one tech choice. I like to play Ultimate Offering, because Ultimate Offering lets you summon in your opponent's turn, which can be pretty devastating, considering you can set in your opponent's turn a Man-Eater Bug or a Trap Master in response to, you know, what may be a set card on his side, and you can do some nasty stuff. You can even block your opponent's attacks with this. And yeah, it's pretty amazing card. So I don't see a lot of decks in this format. I just have to disagree that people don't like this card, because this card is so amazing. Just imagine your opponent going for something, and you can just, and basically also the old text does not only say in certain phases. The old text has no restriction when you can use it. So yeah, one has always to remember old card text as well. So you can basically just set a Man-Eater Bug in your opponent's turn, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, and then you can get clear stuff in your turn without even having a normal summon yet, and then you can still go for tribute this, and then go for summon score or something. Like, this is pretty good stuff. Alright, I think that's it. These are 40 cards. This is the deck. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, peeps. Peace.